Hey guys, welcome on. Excited to have you join today. We'll give everyone a couple of seconds to log on. I know a lot of people are probably grabbing their lunch and getting ready to sit down. So, Ryan, how's the weather where you are?
It's got that pleasant warmth and heat and humidity, that in Dallas right now. So it's a little warm, but yeah, it's good. It's
Gotta
good.
love the humidity.
Thankful for the AC. How about
Yeah,
you? It's same over there in Utah, yeah.
same, but it's a dry heat. So,
Still has
I
that
don't know if that's better or
nice
worse.
evening and morning cool, right? Still,
Yeah, yeah. Well, cool is like 85
yeah.
for mornings and evenings, but it's nice then. So. Awesome. Well, looks like numbers are slowing down a bit. So I'm located in southern Utah. Like Ryan mentioned, he's down in Dallas, and we'd love to hear where you guys are from and what you guys specialize in. So chat is open. Um, so please chat in there. Let us know what you guys do and where you're from. Um, and we will jump right into it. So I'm Bracken. I work at BusyBusy and work on our partnerships department and partnered with Ryan here for quite a while, actually. It's been a minute since we've like collabed and worked together, but we've been on each other's radar for a bit now. So the reason why we brought Ryan on today, he's a rock star sales leader. So I'll give you guys his little bio because his team can write up a better bio than I could probably, come up with in my head. So um, Ryan is the founder and CEO of the Sales Transformation Group. He is a former professional baseball player, which that's awesome, a sales trainer, coach, and consultant, helping contractors transform from a reactive approach to a proactive one by building winning teams. If I know grammar. Um, so we're really excited to have him join us today. He was just telling me about his family. They're out in Maui right now, so um, we're jealous of them, and we're holding down the fort here in the hot mainland.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
yeah, overall, really stoked to have Ryan here joining us today. So looks like we have a an attendee out of Texas, so he's probably having some same weather as you.
Yeah,
Um, nice to meet you guys. Roofing, GC, lots of good stuff. So um, I'll let
awesome.
you take it away, Ryan. We're excited to have you.
Thanks, Bracken. Appreciate you. And thanks for making this happen. Good to see some of you. I know the Rossos, Dawson, Richard. Wonderful to see you here. And thank you guys. You got telecommunications, you got fire, quick fire protection. I love fire protection. The sprinklers, they got to be serviced, they got to be maintained, keeping these buildings safe. So thank you guys. And thank you, BusyBusy and Bracken, for helping coordinate this. So I'm going to just go ahead and jump right in and share my screen. And we're going to spend just the next 20 or so minutes kind of covering a very important topic. I'll go ahead and cover it right here. It's predictable revenue. Before I do that, I just want to give you a quick background on me, a little bit more detail. You can follow me on Instagram if you'd like. The sales athlete, did play sports competitively at a decent level, not at the major leagues or anything, but I did make it pretty far. And I started and I launched a CRM tool for contractors from 2013 to 2018. And I found that as I was selling the CRM, it's a sales specific CRM, the most of the organizations that I work with, they didn't have some of the other ancillary things that really matter to make the insights they're seeing in the CRM impact their business. And much of that I'm going to cover today of what I see is causing this unpredictability, which creates a problem for the owner and their team. And so I'm just going to cover that and address what I think is so important and the effects of addressing those and how that can impact your business, your life, your family, your legacy, and the generations that follow you. So I sold that CRM to about 200 companies. And then I started STG in 2018 after I saw the bigger problem, which was more of a thought leadership need and an overall sales system and process and platform that I want to create and I have created to help contractors grow their business. So that's what we're up to. I've been married 12 years. I have 5 kids and I'm just very blessed and grateful. So that's a bit about me. So 5 steps to predictable revenue. We're going to jump right in. So I guess the question I would like to ask you is, would you rather have a consistent and predictable pipeline that provides you with the time and money to tighten up operations? Or would you rather have an unpredictable sales, function, right? Unpredictable pipeline, and without the time and money to keep up and train a great team to deliver? The question this is really posing is, would you rather have a lot of sales that can cover up a lot of sins, maybe for a short time as we address operations? The reason why I asked that is because a lot of my folks that I talk to are afraid to make sales better and make the front end of their business better from contact to contract. And they don't want to address it because they can't perhaps necessarily grow the backside or add more labor or add more crews or get more support or deliver on what they've sold. So the question I have for you though is, would you rather be growing or not growing? I've heard one of my mentors say you're either growing or you're dying. And the sales is like the oxygen and it brings the cash flow into the organization. And if you know anything about true sales development and that process, is it never really becomes perfect. And it always takes practice and it takes work, just like any athlete, just like any team. And so what I want to focus on today are some of the things that can optimize that front end of your business, not the delivery, right? That's super important, but this is often neglected and not optimized. And therefore you kind of remain at a certain level, or you don't break through to that next level and you have the desire to, but you just don't know what to do. So I'm going to go ahead and touch on this a bit today. I'm going to give you some examples of predictable revenue. Blaine Adams with AIC Roofing, residential shingle guy, set company sales records every month since making some of these changes. CFS down at their primarily commercial company, they were closing about 25%, and then they jumped to 65% by blending some of the strategies that I'm going to talk about. And yes, that sounds like a big jump, and I'll explain. Callan Canaday is a sales professional with Maxwell Roofing, and he jumped to 2.5 million of service sales, and then those are turning into re-roofing opportunities. Greg Ferris, his closing ratio has doubled since making these changes. He's a commercial roofing contractor teammate. And Doug Rowe went from 4 to 12 million in 5 years because he had planned growth because of some of these changes. So just wanted to give you a quick example. But hey, so I got a question for you. Why is not having predictability a problem? So go ahead and answer this. Maybe Ernesto, you can answer, Richard and Doss, Daryl. Why would it be a problem to not have predictability? Any thoughts? Initially, Bracken, how about you? Any thoughts that come to mind? Like, if you're a contractor, you own a business, and you can't really predict the future of where you're going to get to and how to get there, and you're kind of driving with, a lot of rain and fog, and there's just not a lot of clarity when you're trying to look through the front glass. Why would that be a problem?
Yeah, I mean, I'd have to agree with Richard. Strategic moves become very difficult when you don't know what to expect. You can't plan for it. So what is the saying? It's if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. So if you can't predict anything that's going on, it's gonna be very difficult to not fail.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, and so that's good. That's good, Richard. There's a few things you can't do, right? You can't really make a clear plan, and you can't make a clear plan that you can execute on. And then if you can't really execute on that plan, then you kind of stay the same, or if things get a little tough or expensive, you have to make cuts. And then the owner who has a business in mind has a high paying job. He's having to do everything. And so it just becomes really a challenge, and you can't invest in more crews. You can't invest in more software and marketing and technology because the money's not there, because you can't see the future and you don't really have the confidence to know that this is going to make an ROI and you have the cash for it. So there's a lot of problems with not having predictability in your business. And so I mentioned this, you can't really forecast, you can't forecast the future. You can't plan strategically. You can't execute on a plan. You also can't retain top talent, right? Why do you think that might matter, Bracken? Like, why would it be hard to retain top talent, which is super crucial for a contracting business? Like, for them to be able to have high performers, talented people, fits their core values. Why might it be a challenge? to
Yeah.
retain them.
Bringing in A players on is something we talk about a lot here at BusyBusy actually, because A players want data. They want to see what they're doing. They want to see how they're impacting the business. And for our contractors, it's an art and a skill, the things that they do every day, and they want to be able to show that off. So if they don't know that they're going to have the ability to do that moving forward, or that they're going to have the option to take on those great jobs, then they're not going to want to stick around. So
They're not. They're going to want to know, am I on plan? Am I impacting the business? Am I having success? Is it objective? Is it just relational? And can I do something more to make the business more impactful, or impact the business more impactfully? And how does that look for me as an A player? I want to know, and I want to know where we're going, and I want to be able to have confidence in where the leader's taking me. And I want to know that I'm following a leader in the battle that I'm proud to work for, versus learning my thing so that I can go to the next thing, versus I'm staying with this company and I want to work for this company because I love the direction, I love the culture. And so it's a problem. So all that sounds like a dream come true to all of you, right? Well, you can't do that if you don't have a vision and a sales plan and a strategy to make revenue more predictable. If you're not doing that, then you're really rolling the dice, and it's going to be pretty risky. You're going to have a pretty huge stomach, a really strong stomach, to be able to withstand the risk that it takes to boldly make those claims to your team and not really know how to do it. So some of you guys are crazy enough to do that. Some of you guys are like, not going to do that. And so you kind of just remain. You just remain, right? You remain calm and you remain chill, but then you're not making as much money as you want. You're still working harder than you want. So you're not really where you want to be either. So I hope that this makes sense and it's resonating with you. So what do you think causes unpredictability around the lack of plan and the ability to strategically execute on a plan and make those decisions? What do you think, Bracken, if I'm a contractor and I am not able to predictably grow my business, what are the things that I'm probably not doing very well or not doing at all that is causing me to not be able to do that, have that certainty in the future?
I see for a lot of our clients, and my dad, he's a GC, and so I've grown up in the industry, but I think some of the things that cause unpredictability, they're the basics that are right in front of us as just as an industry, where we don't know what interest rates are going to look like. We don't know what the market's going to look like. And are people going to be wanting to build? Are people going to be wanting to make these home improvements? 2020 and COVID, it was a really weird time for everyone, but it, in a lot of ways, was, awesome for the construction industry because everybody was wanting to make changes. They were home all the time. So that's I think a big cause. And to go back to what you're saying with the owners staying chill, staying calm, your A players can recognize that. So if you're feeling stressed out and you don't have the predictability and future globe that you're reading in on, your team can feel that, and that causes them to feel like unsafe as well. So I think that is one of the biggest basics, but it also comes down to keeping track of your data accurately, because it kind of just, I don't mean to tie it back to BusyBusy, but it's true. If you don't have your numbers in line, you don't know where you're at, you're not gonna be able to make better estimates moving forward and bid better on those future jobs. So, I think a lot of it ties into those two things.
So true. And I'm going to add another one because there's 5 that I want to address, and those 2 are definitely part of it. The one that Richard just mentioned is reliance on storms. So like if I were to ask you, hey, Bracken, when is the next storm going to hit Denver? What would you say?
I wouldn't know.
I wouldn't know, right? So that's what it's like for a contractor in roofing specifically. They're rolling the dice every time they're deciding that they're going to either try to grow their business based off of a storm. And so that event, that weather-based event, and that being the director of your business, is really hard. So really all you can count on is that every year there's going to be a storm, and I'm going to go visit that storm and sort of capitalize on it. So now you become a storm chaser. That's what those storm chasers do. That's a roofing thing. If you got people who aren't in roofing that won't understand that. But like what I'm really trying to say is we need to have a strategy that is, I like to call it, I'm just going to click on this. So I'm going to say this: causes are an event-based business model, weather, right? Rolling the dice. The other one could be a very cyclical business model. So like new construction is cyclical. It is economically driven. So that's something to think about. That's not quite as risky as the weather-based one. Not having the plan and knowing your numbers, right? The other one is just pure shiny object syndrome, and just kind of always be constantly distracted and going left and going right and not remaining focused. And then the other one is not optimizing for consistent pipeline generation. So a lot of this we can control. And that's what I'm trying to get to is, if you want to build a business that stands a test of time, that's winning year in and year out, that you can count on, and it will be there. It's like putting your investment in Bitcoin or in the S&P 500, right? And in gold and in real estate, having a diversified portfolio. Do you want to have a diversified portfolio that's going to stand the test of time, or you want to just throw it all on, XRP, right? Well, that's how you're running your business. Most people running their business off of the Bitcoin hope, right? Or not that I'm saying that's not even great. It's just, are you doing the thing that you can count on, right? And that's what that is all about. One thing I will talk about is a sales process that would really help. So there's also this sales process where the prospect is the authority and the salesperson's just in this subservient selling trap. And so one of the things I'm really big on is helping people go from subservient to equal business stature. And now the salesperson becomes an expert and a consultant that's having a dialogue that is a back and forth dialogue that's consultative, that supports you selling your value, that helps you qualify effectively and not just bid and quote. We like to call it, bid and beg, spray and pray, quote and hope. It's this, hey, I'm just happy to have an opportunity. Let me try to convince you and stress my voice of how awesome we are to get you to work with us. It's exhausting and it creates resistance in the sales process. And that is actually going to make it to where you have if you were to categorize every sales call that is subservient and you submitted a bid or a proposal. So Bracken, what software do you guys use? Like Salesforce maybe, or something like, or HubSpot?
Yeah, we use we use both, but mostly Salesforce. Yeah.
So what's the pipeline if you may not know this, but like what would be the way you categorize pipeline? If it's in you got percentage of close or likelihood of closing with close dates or confidence score or something like that.
Yeah, I know our sales team definitely has that in line, and it's something that they're checking very consistently. I think just from like my own personal sales experience, I have worked as an interior designer, and that is a very consultant-based role. You are the expert, and you have to come in with those clear next steps. You have to set the agenda and let them know like what's going to be going on. You have to control that situation. So I think that your healthy sales process here is, it's pretty spot on.
Yeah, like kind of what I'm trying to get at is, if you as an owner, you may choose your time wisely because you have a million things to do and you're going to run the sales. But if you have a sales team and they're not trained to have the skill to have a sales process that they can navigate, that gives them a high confidence score when you put it in the pipeline, you're basically throwing a bunch of stuff against the wall to see what sticks, right? And is that giving you any set of data or anything that can give you confidence of the future, right? The question is, if you just throw everything against the wall and just call it, quote and hope, spray and pray, no consultative sales approach, no clear next steps, not really qualifying, you're just basically presenting proposals after you have somebody who has an interest. What's going to happen? You're probably not going to have a ton of what? Go ahead. If you do this,
I was gonna say, if you throw 100 things up against a wall and one of them sticks, that's not a great percentage for you. So how much time did you just waste on that? It's the 80-20 rule is what we call it here. 80% of your time should be spent with the people who are bringing you the 20% of the people who are bringing you the revenue.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, and I think that, just something that we can control in bad economy, good economy, storm, not storm, is salespeople and sales organizations can have equal business stature and not just put stuff in the pipeline and put stuff on the street that isn't qualified. And that's a really, really, really great thing, because then you have data. And if you're tracking that, now you have some predictability. Because if you use that sales system with the right ideal client profile for the accounts and jobs we want to sell, with the right people enough times, consistently, make a good plan, you literally can predict the future, right? Because it's going to shake out close to what you're planning. So that's important. I like to talk about betting on the horse that's always there. So what is that? So if I were to bet on a horse in the Kentucky Derby, the horse is called Always There, right? Let's talk about our friends here, the fire protection, right? What kind of client is always going to be there? That's, no matter what the situation is, will always be there. Just take a guess. Like a fire protection company, sprinkler systems. What kind
I
of,
would assume commercial, government, that type of stuff would likely be a very reoccurring client for that type of industry.
right? So if they, out of that, there's a few different types of work, right? We could do like retrofit jobs, service jobs, or new construction builds, right?
Yep.
Which one
Maintenance,
is
that's a
always
good
going to
point.
be there?
I was reading the comment. I apologize. I was reading Richard's chat in.
And he's right? Service and maintenance for that. So I love service and maintenance in any business. We had roofing, right? Ernesto's spot on. We had another gentleman from, we got the GC, the roofing and the okay, cool. Okay, telecommunications engineer, right? Ernesto mentioned it. Anything you can do that's service focused, anytime you can focus on service, you know that is predictable. And typically the service margins are higher and the barrier to entry is lower and the closing ratio is higher. It's kind of like having you guys at BusyBusy having a free trial, right? They get in, once they start working with us, it's awesome. And then we can go a deeper dive into demo and they can join our platform and be on the pro level, right? It's like that for a contractor. It's so much better to lead with value and demonstrate expertise, solve a more immediate problem before trying to do a huge job and ask them to spend a lot of money to do something for the first time we work together. And that's where I get really excited, because if you could bet on the horse Always There, like we're always going to need to be remodeling homes, repairing homes. There's not always going to be a new build of a home. That's cyclical in nature a bit. There's not always going to be an insurance re-roof problem, right? There's not always going to be a new install on a fire protection unit, but there's always going to be an existing issue. And I think when people market themselves well about this, they have a lot of long-term success, and it's helpful to make things more predictable. The other one is having a sales vision, right? You've heard people say, without a vision, the people perish. Where are we going and why? We have a culture of sales excellence. I'm not going to hit on that a ton more, but I think like ultimately, what we want to be is have a vision, a plan, a culture of camaraderie, some dignity, some excitement around being a sales professional in the contracting business. And that is going to create, a great environment where high performers are attracted to an organization. They're being measured, they're being held accountable. They have a sales system, they're being coached, they're being leveled up, and they have a camaraderie locker room type of environment that gets them out of bed every day and makes them feel a part of something bigger. I'll just say, like, I started watching a couple movies that I wouldn't watch with my kids in the house. I turned on 300 last weekend, and it was phenomenal. I loved it. I was ready to run through a brick wall. And one of the things that King Leonidas did when he left, Sparta and went against the council to defend himself against Xerxes, because they're not going to bow down to Xerxes and submit. And they had the gates of fire or gates of hell or whatever they called it. That was the way to get into Sparta. And they defended it, and they killed 10,000 men with their 300, which is a true part of the story. But on their way there, they were met by the Arcadians, and the Arcadians was like, this is a lot of morning of surprises. Like, you only have but a few soldiers. And so it was awesome to hear the scene. Have you heard the scene? What is your profession? Probably not,
I
right?
haven't seen that movie. Yeah. I guess I need to watch it.
I need to just snuggle up, get a little bit of popcorn,
Yeah.
and enjoy this. It's great. So anyway, really good, really intense. And then there's a spoof called Meet the Spartans. That's It's like a spoof version. Definitely not as good as the main one, but it was good. So anyway,
I'll have
my
to give
point
the real
being,
one a watch.
yeah, do the real one. But I'm not gonna scream as loud as King Leonidas, but after he said, you don't have but a few soldiers, you don't have but a few soldiers, he looked at me and he said, "Sir, what do you do for a living? What is your profession?" He's, "I'm a potter." What do you do? "I'm a sculptor." "What do you do?" "I'm a blacksmith." And he says, "Spartans, what is your profession?" And they all just scream and like hooah 3 times in a row. And he goes, "See, I brought more soldiers than you did." And I just love that scene because it's saying so many things at once. But as company leaders and driving growth in your business, you need to create a culture where people have an identity attached to what they're doing, in a sense where who they are as a high performer, a winner, is expressed through being on your team. And that is going to be as exciting and as clear and as standardized at a high level and challenging as you make it to be. And I think it's really encouraging I like to say this. I started this company because I didn't find a place where the 25-year-old Ryan would want to work out in contracting. And because I was just out of pro baseball, right? I just got married. I just had my first kid on the way. And I want to make some money and put on a collared shirt and go like, no, I'm doing great and get better and develop, right? And so that's really what I think most people that you want to hire are looking for. And without a plan, you're going to be in trouble and you're just going to kind of stay stuck or grow organically, slowly, without really a plan. So anyway, on to the next thing. Next thing I want to talk about is removing the kryptonite. You got Superman, he's phenomenal, but then you put some kryptonite and he gets weak. And so what we do is we measure selling competencies, and we use an objective tool to just say, hey, where's that person in their sales career and their competencies? Let's benchmark them. Let's put them in a score of 0 to 100 with 21 core competencies. And here I just picked up a few, but one of the things that we can identify is like a supported buy cycle that's low, right? So let me ask you a question, Bracken. If you think everything over before you buy, right?
Oh, I wish I did that. I just tapped my card.
Let's just say you think everything over before you buy, and then
Mm-hmm.
you're a salesperson and you're trying to present a project proposal to me to move forward with work with you, right? And I said I need to think it over. And I just really need to think about it. And and I don't want to make a decision right now. And you do the same when you buy. What do you think you're going to do when you're talking to me and I say as a prospect that I need to think it over? What do you think you're going to say immediately? Like, how would you respond to that naturally?
I mean, as a salesperson, I'm gonna say something like, that makes total sense. That's usually what people are saying. I'm gonna bandwagon it and say, usually people need a day or two to think this over. I mean, depending on what it is, chat with the wife. Um, so how about this? I'm gonna send you over some information to help you with that, and I'll give you a call on Friday around noon. Does that work for you? Okay, noon is good. Awesome. So I'm gonna put it in the calendar here, give you a call. You shoot me a text with any little questions that might pop up. So that's what I would do.
Yeah.
But it also depends on what I'm selling. So what do you want me to do, Ryan?
Yeah,
Would you coach me on that?
for sure. I can coach you on that. And I want to make time for it. But the point I'm trying to make is that because you make decisions when you buy fast, you're going to be less tolerant and maybe a bit less empathetic in a good way with people who don't like to make fast decisions, which means you're probably going to prompt the deal along better than somebody who thinks everything over when they buy. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So like, let's just say you are Miss Professional Buyer and you shop everything out and you go for the cheapest deal and you take forever to make a decision, right? But now I'm asking you to be a salesperson. You're probably going to like sell that way, right? You're going to sell with like low price and multiple options and take
Really
time,
soft, really timid.
right? And is that going to help your organization grow sales?
I mean, I would say no. I think that we need to be supportive and understanding of people's decisions, but like you said, still need to give a little bit of push, because if you're not the one who is continuing to call um, and continuing to reach out as a salesperson,
Mhm.
somebody else is going to.
Totally. So
Um,
my point is, like, one of the things we identify are these types of scores.
mhm.
Let's just say somebody has a really high not needing approval, which means they don't need to be liked in the sales process. They may come across a little direct, a little confrontational, but I will tell you that they're not going to avoid the tough question or the great question or the qualifying question. Therefore, they're going to kind of be a little bit more of a hot knife through butter and kind of cut through some of the BS, for lack of a better word, that the prospect may be feeding them, that is going to help them be more effective in their sale and not waste their time. But somebody who needs someone to like them in like their role as a sales professional, their need to be liked, is going to cause them to avoid the tough question, avoid the standing strong and during an objection and lowering that resistance and staying persistent. They're going to feel like, I need them to like me to buy. And in fact, I don't want to piss them off at all. So in order for me to not ever piss them off, I'm going to avoid all confrontation and just give them what they want. And then typically what people really want is just a low price, the way on their terms. And it typically doesn't really help you as a contractor get the kind of project margin and the value that you want. And then you're just discounting price. And then have your backlog with jobs that don't have as much margin in them. And then you're not making enough money. But then it's all because your salesperson just needs to be liked too much. Does that make sense? So this is the kind of
Very
stuff that
true.
we get to identify that we do at STG that helps create a scope of work, for lack of, the way we like to say this, creates a scope of work or a plan on how to improve your salespeople's overall selling competencies. So that's just an example, but that's one thing that we can do to make revenue more predictable, is by kind of removing all the head trash. Basically, remove the head trash so that they can execute on a sales system really well. And this is where I get to the next step, and I'm going to wrap up soon. Optimization for the pipeline. So we know how this works, right? You start with pipeline. Pipeline is sales pipeline, right? What are all the variables in that, right? Who you're focusing on. What's your mindset? How disciplined are you? How much can you say no to other things and say yes to these things? How well are you trained, right? And then what's your sales process? And then you got people, which is like the craziest part of all this, is people actually have to do this. So you have all of that established and you have people doing that. And guess what happens when you fill up your pipeline? You make sales eventually. So sales happen. And then sales, when those are happening, it creates a backlog, right? Which is a backlog of work. And then your work it's a list of jobs that you have to still earn that isn't cash. It may be cash in the bank. It may not be cash in the bank, but it's not going to be showing in your accounting and on your profit and loss statement unless you've earned it. And you have to finish the job before you earn it. And then once you earn it and the cash is in the bank, that's revenue, right? That's your business. So literally you're working yourself out of a job every time that you sign up a job. You're trying to work yourself out of a job to run this business. It's like a hamster wheel, right? So in order for you to spin off a lot of cash in your business, it all starts where? It all starts here, to focus on the pipeline part. So this is where I get super fired up, because the contract is the contract. The backlog is what you deliver and how well you can manage projects, and revenue is what happens at the end when it all shakes out. What can we control? This one, the pipeline, all day. We can control that all day long. So what are some of the variables? How consistent we focus our time, energy into the pipeline? What's the volume? How much volume are we putting out? What's the quality, the types of clients and the jobs that are in the pipeline? How much margin's in it? And the biggest variable is the people. You can have all this down, and if you have a bad person in place, you may not have anything predictable. That's the craziest part about all this. So that's why I'm so big on this stuff. So target market, sales process, measuring activity, leading activity, and lastly, the mindset. It's all about mindset. This is a sales process that we teach at STG. It's called baseline selling. So basically it's like putting sports into your sales career. So it makes it fun, simple, and easy to understand. And I have different images that look cool, but this is the one that lays it out the best. You're home, you have to call an inbound call or an outbound call with an identified issue. Hey, our sprinkler's leaking. Hey, our roof is leaking. Or hey, we just had a hailstorm hit and we want to, or hey, did you know you might have had a hailstorm damage? Whatever it may be, there's an identified issue and you schedule an appointment. That's a suspect. What we like to teach is taking that suspect and get them to share their compelling reasons to buy, quantify the pain points and the problem, and really monetize the pain, and take it or the desire and create a leverageable position where they've actually put emotions into the process with the salesperson rather than just the intellect. So now they're a prospect, and then we just want to make sure they're committed, they're willing to pay more, you're with the decision makers, there's a timeline, and they actually care and are committed to doing this, right? It's not just like a nice to have, but like you're measuring their ability to buy. Now they're qualified. And then from there, they do a takeoff, estimate the job, present, and close. Now here's what most people do. They go from first to third, right? They just go from appointment to takeoff, estimate, present, and close. And they skip the real selling. And this is the part that's going to be different and what's going to help create a lot more predictability in your pipeline. So we help train this and we help people master this, and it changes their business. Last few things here is the measurables that we want to track. Gross margins, right? Your closing percentage to the job and to the dollar. And I like a trailing 6 months to a year. And if it's in residential, 3 months is good, because the selling cycle is a bit longer in commercial. Schedules and calendars, percentage of sales goal. You should know how you're doing against your goal so you can track and plan and have visibility. The stages in the pipeline, how much you're putting in the pipeline, the quality and the consistency of which you're filling up the pipeline. Those are pretty important. Your average deal size, your average account size, and your selling cycle. These all over time, if you've actually measured these, you'll be able to say, hey, if we want to go from this number to this number, all this stuff just needs to change a bit because we have the data, and then that's going to help us predict. And then we got to measure it in real time to make sure we're not off track. It's pretty powerful. It's pretty simple. That's why I like to bet on the horse always there, so that you're not blaming the economy or blaming the lack of a weather event to why your business didn't grow. Whose decision is that? That's your decision. It's your fault. And this is what I like to fix. This is an example of a planning sheet. So I'm going to skip a couple of things here just for the sake of time. But I love this quote, and this quote I want you to take a picture of, and it's a Bruce Lee quote. And, he goes like this, right? And he goes, ready to go. He says, I fear not the man who's practiced 10,000 kicks once, but I fear the man who's practiced one kick 10,000 times. And I need to say, I'm saying this to myself right now because we need a reinforcement and reminder. But if you guys as contractors focus really, really well and stay consistent, you can be unstoppable. And it's everybody that you're competing with that has shiny object syndrome. That's what's causing them to go off track. But the ones who are doing a great job, I was just catching up with my mentor. When I left their company, they were doing about 48 million. That was about 5 years ago, and they're going to do north of 70 million this year. And the owner of the company, the mentor of mine, he used to go into the industry and speak all the time and give back and everything like that. And it was great for the industry, but he actually does none of that now. He only just does education to property management companies and goes deeper with them and just kind of is more of a business development face. And that deepening of relationship is causing them to give them last look on jobs, right? And going deeper. And he's just doing one thing: private commercial roofing, service, and re-roof. That's it, just focusing on that. And he's just hammering in. He just bought a massive building, and he's in the golden years, he's in his 60s, but that man has done a phenomenal job. And that's because he's not allowing himself to get distracted. And it's what he says no to that's helping him versus what he's saying yes to. So anyway, let's do this. I'm going to land here. And thank you, Ernest. Oh, appreciate that. This is my email, my Instagram, my LinkedIn, and my website. And here's a code if you want to, the QR code, if you'd like to set up a call with us to see if we can just analyze your sales team and your recruiting process and just get a sense of, maybe where's opportunity to help. But maybe while we're on this screen, Bracken, we can just end with a couple of questions if you like.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, great job, Ryan. I thought everything you're saying is like so spot on. So I'm really glad that you were able to join us today. We had a couple of questions come through the Q&A that I think will be really helpful. One of our attendees chatted in anonymously and wants to know what growth you've seen most in the painting industry. We talked a lot about roofing, so I think this is a great question. So if you want to give us some of the info on that, that'd be great.
Yeah, there's one gentleman, we worked with several painting companies, and one comes to mind. He's a residential painting company at first, but now he's gone into more commercial because he wants to grow his business, but he went from 3 million to 6 million to 9 million over the past like 3.5 years. So he'll do about 8.5, 9 million this year. And he's now taking massive leaps forward. So we've seen that as an example of great growth. And he went from sales manager with his girlfriend as a sales, he went from owner that's managing sales and selling with his like girlfriend who of course doesn't want to work for him because they don't like agree with everything. And there's a culture of like lack of compliance of his processes. And,
Yep.
you know, with a couple of other yahoos to like now he's got a sales manager full time with like rock solid salespeople. And one of those is going into the larger assisted living facility jobs and like networking with larger organizations and getting a lot more work and painting a lot bigger jobs through his relational prospecting that he's learned from us. And so, yeah, it's been fun to see that type of growth and they're on a great trajectory. That's an example. So, yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. One more question for you. What would you say to a business owner right now in the construction industry who says that they don't have time to focus on their sales?
I would say, think about the long-term consequence. Let's just play that out. So my thoughts are go from left to right and say, I'm not going to work on my sales. Great. Okay, let's play that out. So Bracken, if I were to ask you, if you're the owner, and that's what you said, you know, what might be, let me just give you, I'll tee it up and do a couple. Let's just say you don't work on your sales. Then what's the next thing is you're probably going to either delegate those sales to somebody who doesn't have the ability to convert them like you, or you're going to have to do that yourself, right?
Yep.
So my question to you is, what happens to the business after that? How does it affect you if somebody else is doing it and they fail and you can't trust them with it and you have to go pick up and do it? What happens next?
I mean, I think that's a great question. I would hope I don't have to find out, but
if you don't address your sales, you're going to find out. I mean, you're already probably finding out right now. So what happens? I'm just role play with me for
yeah,
fun.
yeah. Well, I'll just figure it out when it happens.
Okay. Can I give you an idea of what actually happens?
I mean, you can tell me, but we've been doing it the same way and it's always worked out. So,
Yeah. Do you particularly like see yourself doing this for the next 15 years? You want to be
yeah, I
running
would say so.
selling, closing deals the next 15 years?
Yeah.
Do you hope to sell the business one day or to have some sort of succession plan with your son or daughter?
Yeah, I'd like to retire and pass it on to my daughter.
Would you like to sell it for a lot of money or a little bit of money?
Well, everybody wants to sell for a lot of money.
Okay. Can I tell you that one of the most, biggest things that help that devalue the business is the reliance on the owner themselves?
Well, I mean, I think my team's pretty good.
But you still have to sell everything.
I mean, I don't know, maybe I do need to take a look at my sales.
What would you do that would you like to do? And you may not even have thought of doing if you weren't selling jobs as much and you had like 45% more time to do something else. What would you do? Would you just do more business or would you do something else?
I would like to spend more time with my family.
Okay. So I guess the question is, would you like to sell the business one day for more than you would if you did it and have more time with your family on the way? Would you like that?
I mean, that sounds like it would be really nice, but I don't know if that's a real thing.
Well, I'd like to tell you it's possible. However, it's going to require something to change because if nothing changes, then what?
Nothing changes.
Bingo. So think about that and think about the impact and face the brutally honest facts. You and me are entrepreneurs. So what we are is we're really optimistic. We always see the glass half full, but we always get hit in the face. And because we're so persistent, we just get back up, but we don't really actually see what happens. And the reality is you're probably going to be doing the same thing till you're old and wrinkly and your kids are going to say, my dad worked so hard and never worked with me. And then when you do sell it, you don't even have anybody as much time as you'd like allotted to be able to spend that time with those people and enjoy it. And you won't have as much to enjoy. How about that?
Yep.
Doesn't feel
It's
good,
so true.
but like, that's why building a culture around sales can up level you. It can take you to a new level and get you freer. And and just now we're going off record here. Now that's what I want to do. And I'll just close out with this. My mom remarried and they started a company and they were doing everything, right? phone's blowing up, checks bouncing, go to this guy, this, go to the supply shop there, on the job, selling a job, meeting the customer, blah, 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 blah. And the recession hit and they didn't make it. Their business didn't make it. And their marriage didn't make it. And I, I'm in the middle of pro ball. My mom's going through a second divorce and they're going bankrupt. And I'm like, crap, I have no business to fall back on and join the family business. I'm definitely gonna have to figure this out. And so I kind of like, I'm pretty impassionate about the kind of multi-generational thing with this industry and like the potential. And I was like, I'm going to be successful and have a lot of kids. And that's what I'm doing. So no, I'm joking, but seriously,
True though.
think it's just, it's real. And so like, I look at this and I just say, guys, like, sales doesn't have to be a dirty word and it's not, something that doesn't apply to everybody. Everybody has to sell. And what does real sales and real sales organization look like and development really look like? And if you really take it seriously and you think about how it can change everything over time, it's worth really rolling up your sleeves and getting built. And that's the way I see it. And so anyway, that's it.
Yeah. I think that's a good place to end on. I mean, you got to get yourselves in line and you got to get your processes in line. So it makes sense why we're partnered. Because if you don't have all those processes squared out, you don't have that data, you can't predict and make yourselves process better. So
Yeah.
I think that was great.
Thank
Well,
you.
we really appreciate it, Ryan. We'll send out a recording of this webinar so you guys can reference it. And yeah, hit Ryan up. He's good at what he does and he's going to help you guys get squared away. So
Yes, thank you.
appreciate you for joining us and hope you're able to make it out to Maui to spend some time on the beach with your family.
Thank you. I hope so too. Awesome.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Thanks for joining. Talk to you later.